Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a really cool idea from Vlad Bilyavsky's The Pyramid Mind. It's all about a new way to think about, well, how you think.
All right, let's start with a bit of a riddle. What on earth could mixed martial arts, the UFC, cage fighting, have in common with psychotherapy? I mean, one's all about physical combat, the other is about healing your inner world. Seems like polar opposites, right? But there's a really surprising link here.
So, the author, Vlad Bilyavsky, actually felt this himself. He was training in different things and said he felt like he was cheating on his teachers. You know the feeling? But he quickly realized he wasn't the only one. Turns out, in both of these totally different fields, people were figuring out that sticking to just one pure style, well, it just wasn't cutting it anymore.
So, Section 1, the ultimate fight. And this idea, this shift from being a purist to mixing things up, it wasn't just some academic debate. Oh no. It got tested in the most intense way possible, showing everyone what it really takes to win.
Think back to 1993. The UFC burst onto the scene with one simple question. Which martial art is the absolute best? Is it karate, boxing, jiu-jitsu? But something funny happened. They didn't find one best style. They found that the fighters who were winning weren't purists. They were the ones who were cross-training, creating what we now call MMA. And what's wild is that right around the same time, therapists were having their own aha moment, realizing that one single theory just doesn't work for every person.
So the big takeaway from both the fighting cage and the therapy room was exactly the same. The best style isn't one style. It's about having a whole toolbox, becoming a well-rounded practitioner who can handle anything.
Okay, Section 2, the Pyramid Mind Model. This is where it gets really interesting. What if we took that exact same idea, that MMA mix and match approach, and used it to understand ourselves, to understand our own minds? Well, that is precisely what the Pyramid Mind Model is all about.
Okay, so let's be clear. The brain is ridiculously complex. This model isn't a literal perfect blueprint. It's more like a subway map. It's a simplified guide, a framework that helps us make sense of the tangled up territory of our own minds and see how all the different parts connect.
So here are the 6 levels. At the very top, at the peak of the pyramid, you have level 1, reason. This is your conscious, in-control planning brain. But as you go down, things get more automatic. You move through your beliefs, your memories, your emotions, all the way down to the base levels of speech, and finally, pure behavior, your physical habits that you don't even think about.
A really helpful way to think about this is as 2 pyramids stacked together. The top part is your conscious mind. That's the stuff you know that you know. You can explain it, you can declare it like a fact. But the bottom half, that's your subconscious. That's the stuff you know how to do without thinking. It's riding a bike, or that sudden jolt of fear you feel. It just happens. Okay, Section 3, your brain's memory systems. So if these are the levels, how do you actually work on them? Well, this is where we go back to our MMA fighter. Each level of that pyramid is like a different martial art, a different discipline you need to train, because each one is tied to a totally separate memory system in your brain. And this is so crucial. Your long-term memory is not one giant storage closet. It's actually broken up into at least 4 different systems. You have one for personal events, your episodic memory, one for facts, your semantic memory, one for skills and habits, procedural memory, and one for learned feelings, your emotional memory, and they all live in different parts of your brain. Okay, so just how powerful are these systems? I want you to think about just one of them for a second, your habits. Check this out. Research from Duke University found that about 40% of everything you do every single day isn't a conscious choice. It's a habit. It's your procedural memory, your autopilot just running the show. Almost half your life. Section 4, lessons from a broken mind. So how can we be so sure these memory systems are actually separate things? Well, a huge part of what we know comes from the tragic but incredibly important study of brains that were damaged. Let me tell you about a man named Henry Molaison, who for decades was known in science only as patient HM.
Back in 1953, to treat his severe epilepsy, he had an experimental surgery where they removed part of his brain called the hippocampus. And while it did help his seizures, it came at a terrible, unforeseen cost. From that day forward, Henry couldn't form new memories of events or facts. He was basically trapped in the present moment. You could have a whole conversation with him, and 30 seconds later, it would be gone, as if it never happened. He'd read the same magazine over and over, and it was new every time. But, and this is the incredible part, scientists started to notice that he could still learn certain things.
This is the experiment that changed everything. They had him trace the shape of a star while only looking at his hand in a mirror. It's really tricky. And day after day, he got better and better at it. His performance improved just like anyone else's. But here's the kicker. Every single day when they brought the task to him, he would say he'd never seen it before in his life. He had zero conscious memory of ever practicing. This was the proof. His knowing that memory was gone, but his knowing how memory, his procedural habit memory, was working just fine. And despite his condition, Henry was this incredibly willing participant in research for 55 years. What he went through was a personal tragedy, no doubt, but his contribution was immeasurable. He literally gave us the map of the mind that we're using right now. So, Section 5, Your Path to Mastery. Henry's story gave us the map. It showed us the different territories of the mind. Now, what do we do with it? How do we use this blueprint to actually improve ourselves? So, how can you train your own mind like an integrative master? The whole point of the pyramid model is that it's not just a cool idea to talk about. It's a practical guide. It's a curriculum for your own development. Once you see the levels, you can start training each one on purpose.
And here's what that training looks like. You start at the top using your conscious reason to stay aware. You use it to challenge your beliefs and reframe your past memories. And as you work on that top-down stuff, it starts to influence the bottom-up systems. You get better at mastering your emotions, your speech patterns, and ultimately building the solid habits and behaviors that you want. And that really gets to the heart of it all. It reminds me of what Aristotle said. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. That's the whole game, right? Taking that conscious practice from the top of the pyramid and training it so much that it becomes an automatic, excellent habit at the bottom.
So in the end, mastering your mind isn't about finding some single magic bullet or one weird trick. It's about becoming an integrative practitioner of yourself. It means training all those different disciplines, your reason, your emotions, your habits. You have to be a well-rounded fighter in the arena of your own mind.
So I'll leave you with this question. You've seen the map, you have the training plan. What's the first discipline you're going to start working on? Which piece of your own pyramid will get your attention first?